ItsGamerDoc and I have been up all night long data mining the recently released preload files that have just become available on the PC. There is a huge amount of new information in these files, so trust me when I tell you that you want to stick around and hear this. So guys, first up, big shout out to ItsGamerDoc. He was the guy that did the initial data pool on this, and then he and I worked together on that data to find as much or extract as much information from it as we could. So, a lot of this credit goes to him. Please check out his channel. I've listed it in the description below. He's going to be releasing a video on this tomorrow, so be sure to head over there to check out that video and of course drop him a subscribe. So the very first thing that we stumbled upon while we were looking through these files was two weapon files that we had not seen before, and they were for the Remington 700 bolt action sniper rifle and the M82 sniper rifle, which I'm not a weapons person, but as I understand it is an anti-tank weapon. So that's obviously really interesting that we found these weapons in the first instance. What's even more interesting is that these files are actually listed under a DLC tag. So I can't definitively say that these are going to be DLC weapons. All I can say that the game files list these as DLC items. So it is possible that the Remington 700 and the M82 sniper rifles are both going to be, DLC weapons that are going to be available during those DLC content drops. The next thing that we found is what we believe to be a complete mission list. So I'll put the mission list up there for you on the screen. You can have a look through that now. But yeah, basically they're sort of tiered. There's low, medium, and high. And they're all set in different locations, and some really interesting locations are called out. So you've got Park Avenue, you've got Macy's, Madison Square Garden, you've got Grand Central, Times Square. Yeah, so they were the main ones that really. And then there's also Penthouse, but I don't think that's probably not as interesting as it sounds. But so that's it. That's where we believe their sort of missions are going to be set. And something that's really interesting about this list is that it actually has two big items on it. So the first one is one item that's actually tagged as DLC, and it's the only mission with this tag, and it's called DLC 01 Kill the Tank. So many of you would have seen the trailer yesterday that showed the year one content path, and many people spotted in that there may have been a tank that you fight at some point. Well, it seems like this mission or that mission is already in the game files. Maybe because they had to, make that mission for the purposes of that trailer, they, left it in the game or forgot to remove this game file. But either way, it's listed in there, and that's something that's really interesting. So the next thing that was interesting about this mission list relates to Brooklyn. So if you don't want to hear anything about Brooklyn and you don't want any spoilers, then please click ahead now, click the tag, and you'll skip this section, and this will be spoiler free for you. It seems like Brooklyn is certainly in the game, so there's a lot of evidence for this. So first of all, there are some really chunky Brooklyn files in the game, a lot of visual files. So it's not just like little references. We're talking, many megabytes worth of data around Brooklyn. So I think there's a good chance that it's in just from that. Secondly, on this mission list, we actually see Brooklyn Precinct Siege listed as a mission, but funnily enough, it's actually listed as with a different tag versus the rest. It doesn't have the whole low, medium, high tag that the other missions have. It just has Brooklyn Precinct Siege. And also, there are some other files in there. I won't go into the detail of them, but they sort of give the implication that there's no mission requirement to be able to unlock this Brooklyn Precinct Siege mission. So my theory on this is actually that Brooklyn is where we start the game, and it seems like there is we're in a police station, and it seems like there's some sort of siege taking place, and we have to survive that siege, and then obviously we do, and we get out, and that, those of you that have played the open beta, that's probably where, we're flying in that helicopter, and we're all sort of like Fei Wong is all beat up, and we're unconscious, and it seems like, that might be the story. We might be escaping from Brooklyn and getting to Manhattan, and that might be the starting point of the game. So again, this is all just a theory right now based upon the files that I've read, but I'm pretty certain at this point that Brooklyn is in the game, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if it's actually the starting zone of the game. So there you go. Take that at face value, and we'll see how that goes. So the next one was very quick. It's just about a loading screen tip that confirmed for us that yes, there are daily missions in the game and they do award Phoenix credits, and that Phoenix credits are used to purchase end game gear. So again, we sort of knew that this was the case, but that's been 100% confirmed now by this loading screen tip. And any of you that have played Destiny before with their legendary mark system, or World of Warcraft with their Valor points, or even Diablo with their blood shards, this is just essentially an end game currency that smooths the progression curve for you and makes it a lot more likely that you end up getting upgrades rather than just missing out week after week after week. So it's a nice thing to know that this is included in the game. So the next one that we found in the game files is that there's actually an animation for deploying Claymores. Now there's no Claymores in the game currently, but there is now an animation file that relates to you deploying them. So I'm not sure if this is a future skill or ability that we will unlock. Maybe it's a future item that we're able to get in future DLC. Not sure, but either way, that is in the game in its current form. Next up, safe houses. They do offer mission and encounter locations, vendors, and matchmaking. So when we saw a safe house in the Dark Zone, all we saw then was a vendor selling high-end gear. In the full game, when we encounter larger safe houses, they will be places where we can update our map, where we can obviously vendor, but also where we can matchmake, and there will be matchmaking consoles there that we can use. So next up is some information about crafting that we got from one of the loading screen tips. And that tip actually reads something to the effect of, blueprints can be reused to craft items of different stats. Now, there's one of two things that this can mean. One, either we can actually choose the stats that the weapons that we craft, that we can choose the stats that they produce, but I think it's far more likely that blueprints will actually be used in such a way that they produce items with random stats, similar to games like Diablo, where if we craft an item that it just has randomly allocated stats on it, and we need to keep crafting that item until we eventually get the item roll on it that we might want. So that's kind of interesting that we know that that's sort of all we can assume that that's how it works. Now this might be super frustrating and you think, oh, that really sucks because I'm just going to have to make the same item over and over again until I get what I want. But probably our biggest finding of the night was a system called Recalibration, which is essentially akin to something like reforging in the likes of Destiny or even in Diablo. I think it's called reforging as well, where you're able to select the stats on a specific piece of gear, and you're able to change those stats and they re-roll randomly. Yeah. So how do we learn about this? There are 3 loading screen tips that speak about this, and I'll read those out to you now. The first one is the recalibration station allows you to modify bonuses and attributes of your gear. So the first thing to call out here is that it says gear, it doesn't say weapons. In this game, gear is specific to the items that you wear. That's how they refer to your armor. It's not just like in most other games where gear is just a general catch-all phrase for the items that you have. Gear is just your armor and the like. So it's possible that this system is not for weapons, that it's only for your equipped armor and backpack and that sort of thing. Number 2, in exchange for some currency, you will be able to change one property of a gear piece with another random property. So that's going back to what we said earlier, where you're able to choose one property on that piece of gear and change it for another random property. You're not going to be able to choose what it changes to. You get, a random property in place. And the third loading tips that we read was, once an item has been recalibrated, only the modified property can be changed again at a higher cost with each try. So it's not like you can change one stat and then get what you want and then, change the other stat to also get what you want. No, once you've changed one stat, that stat slot is then the only one that you're able to change. And every time that you do it, it costs you more to do so. So that's a really amazing find, obviously. The fact that we know this system exists in the game is really interesting. And it's really going to open up some huge opportunity for you in terms of really specifying the build that you want for your gear, for your character. In particular, given the way that weapon talents work and the fact that you need a certain amount of stats to unlock certain weapon talents, and if you're able to change some of the sort of bonuses on your gear to get closer to those stat limits, then that's going to make life a lot easier for you. So it's a really fantastic thing that Massive have decided to include that in the game. And the very last thing was that there seems to be some sort of little Doom Easter egg in the game files where, there's a BFG 9000 is called out as a type of assault rifle in the game files. And I think it's just a test item. I think someone was just having a bit of a laugh, but it was definitely in there. So, GG to Massive for having a sense of humor on that one. But that's it, guys. Huge amounts of new information there. As I said, we've got, new DLC weapons being possible. We've got a full list of missions. We've got a lot more information on Brooklyn and pretty much sort of clarification that it definitely is in the game. We've got information about daily missions. We've got possibility of Claymores being introduced to the game. We've got safe houses offering map updates, vendors, and matchmaking. We've got the more information about how crafting works, in that it sort of provides random bonuses. And finally, we've got the announcement of this awesome new system, Recalibration, which allows you to change the stats and bonuses on your gear so that you can modify your build to your leisure. So really interesting. We're going to continue to work through these files as much as we can to find as much information as we can before launch, and then after that we're just going to be playing the hell out of the game. So like I said, none of this would have been possible without ItsGamerDoc. Please, his details are down in the description below. Make sure you visit his channel. As I said, he's got a video coming out tomorrow. Show your support for him and his hard work by visiting that video, giving it a thumbs up and giving him a subscribe. And if you liked this video and you found it useful, guys, then please, give me a like and a subscribe as well. Had a lot of fun doing this. It was certainly a bit of a pain in the ass, but it was really rewarding to find these big things, especially the recalibration thing. So hope you found it useful. Hope you enjoy it. Really looking forward to seeing you all in the Dark Zone on Tuesday. Take good care till then. Bye-bye.